For Friday, I want you to take your critique and apply these guidelines to it. Now, what I mean by that is, for example, I want you to introduce. And by introduce, I mean the author and the passage. In other words, the New York Times article, when. Okay, that's what I mean there. And, of course, you want to say what the author's argument or purpose is, specifically. In other words, what their thesis is. And right here, you want to have said what the background, give me a little background material so the reader doesn't go into the whole piece sort of blind. That's sort of what we've been doing in class when we talk about the context of the piece. All right. To sum up, this is what I want you to do. I want you to mark stuff up. I want you to note that you have the author, that you have the title, that you have the thesis, and you can underline or highlight those and just make a little note there. This isn't rocket science. I just want an indication that you have done this. And I want you to mark where the background is. 1 to 2 paragraphs. You should have 1 to 2 paragraphs in your paper that have all this stuff in it. Usually at the very beginning. Second, I want you to sum up stuff. In other words, I want you to have summed up stuff. Have you summarize the author's main points? Just mark a little line down there and write summary. Indicate, yes, you've done that. All right. In other words, I want you to mark sideways, squiggly lines, underline, highlight where you have summarized the article. The next thing I want you to do is to mark here where you are assessing the presentation. Now, that means you're looking at it and you're saying, did the author do what he or she set out to do? In other words, did they fulfill their purpose? And the way you do that is okay, if it's informational, is the information accurate and significant? Have things been defined clearly? Are things fair? And has the author argued logically? That's question 1. Okay, so question 1 just simply asks the question, has the author done as claimed? And you have to assess that, to evaluate it. Sometimes you might agree 100%. Sometimes you might disagree 100% with what the author has said, but that's for another question. What I want you to do here is simply to evaluate things like the information, and if their purpose was to entertain you, how did they do that? So, has the author done as claimed, and explain why he or she has or has not. Next, you want to answer question 2 that the text talks about. In other words, agree, disagree, both, or neither. And, of course, explain why. So, what you want to do is to make sure that your reader knows whether you have agree, disagree, both, neither, or a combination of the two, and why. And all you have to do is mark on the page, something like question 2, and then mark where it is on the page. All right? And lastly, do you have a conclusion where you state what you've concluded? We talked overall about the piece, give it kind of an assessment overall, because sometimes these are a mixed bag. You might say, I'm 60-40 in agreement. Or you might indicate that you are 100% in agreement with the information, but 100% in disagreement with the conclusions. There's lots of combinations here, so you want to make sure that your reader absolutely understands where you come down. So mark on there where you have concluded. Now, I just don't want you to mark the last paragraph, because sometimes conclusions are in the next to the last paragraph. But whatever you do, just kind of make a marking and mark conclude on the side. Here. So I want you to bring this all to class on Friday, April the 18th. Look forward to it, and I sure hope my back feels better by then. Bye-bye.